So, welcome to Let's Talk. Pardon I. Welcome to Let's Talk. And here at Let's Talk, we like to talk about issues that matter to you. So we come up with workable, practical solutions. So we have more action and less talk. So tonight, I'm your host, Jason, with my co-host.
Still Cheryl.
And we have a special guest in the house tonight. She's graced us with her presence. Come all the way from Freeport
Yes.
to bless us. Our host, our guest, co-host, special guest tonight is
AP.
AP. AP came to join us because she's heard the topic we were having tonight, and she said she has plenty to say on this topic. She said she can put me and my co-host in place. So let's see. So our topic for this evening is properly preparing our children for the future. And we can look at it from all aspects. I have one way of looking at it, and Miss Cheryl has another way, and definitely
As always.
AP has the right way.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Okay.
So, properly preparing our children for future. What aspect should we be looking at this from?
I guess every aspect, because I know every time we talk about, everything we talk about, we always say we should start with the end in mind. And the future is where our children, we're targeting them too. In the past, Jason, I know you mentioned in the past when we had a parenting show, you talked about the fact that our children are like arrows in our hand, and we are, propelling them towards their future. So everything that makes up the whole person that they're going to become. So I think when we talk about preparing them for the future, we should talk about preparing them emotionally, mentally, psychologically, financially, in a career path or choice. Also, as it relates to relationships, because of course, we know that every single thing that I would have mentioned will affect the person. Some will affect them a little more than others, and depending on the gender that they are. I think female children can be prepared in a different way, because you're preparing them to be spouses, to be supportive roles to a husband. And then you have our males, you're going to prepare them to lead families. So when we think about preparing our children, we definitely have to think about what the future is, where we expect them to be, and go from that perspective. So we're going to look at all of that, hopefully. And AP, who's here, is someone else's child. It's someone's child. And so we're going to ask her maybe if she thinks that she was prepared for the future as she is working into becoming that person. So I don't know if you want to start with her, Jason. I know I said a mouthful.
We can.
Okay.
Just dive right into it. Let's dive right into it. I'm being blessed by two beautiful women, so I'll grace y'all. I'll let y'all grace me with y'all intelligence, superior intelligence.
Okay, well, so Cheryl, I agree with what you said. I think that when it comes to preparing children for their future, I think you need to take it from a holistic approach, and you can't just focus on one specific aspect. Now, what I will say is that, you mentioned preparing them to be spouses and partners to other persons. I think what we need to do is prepare children to be functioning and prosperous members of society. Because the reality is that is not everyone's future. So what we need to do is focus on how we can prepare people to be decent human beings. And that's focusing on moral and ethics. So we need to focus on every aspect. We need to focus on the holistic child. And as we take that approach, I feel as though the first step that we need to do is to actually see children as humans. Oftentimes, children are looked down upon. They're not taken seriously. Their opinions don't matter. Their feelings don't matter. We always hear, what is it now? Oh, you're too young to be depressed. You're too young to have stress. You're too young to be this. You're too young to be that. Is that the case? When you were younger and you had these emotions, did you feel seen? Sorry.
Hey, listen, I'm as a bystander. I just watching the AP show. I just watching.
No, we're not just watching. I'm gonna need you to share the the pressure. Because I feel a lot from you guys.
I think that's how we need to look at it, because oftentimes, and in the capacity that I work in, I've been dealing a lot with students recently. So I've traveled across the various islands, and I do a thing called school tours where I speak to children about entrepreneurship. And oftentimes I don't like to call them children, I like to call them students. Right? So when I speak to students about entrepreneurship, I always ask them, like, do you feel like your opinion matters? Do you feel like you're valued? And oftentimes they say no.
Wow.
That's where we need to start. Because
Wow.
if we're thinking about somebody as a child, then we're thinking of them as less than. And oftentimes, especially when they get up into those preteens, so that's like 12, 11, those are the ages when they really start to develop their personalities, their ways of thinking, their mindsets. And I can even remember being in junior high school. I was exposed to so much things. It's ridiculous what students are doing in these high
Right.
schools. So if you aren't actually treating your child like a human, then they're going to be influenced
Wow.
by so many outside things. If you're not taking their emotions and their mindset and their ways of thinking, if you're not taking that seriously, if you're not validating their feelings, if you're not validating their emotions, then how can you expect them that they're going to go to outside external sources looking for that validation?
Definitely. Definitely.
So that's where we need to start, I feel.
Yeah. Wow. Wisdom. I wonder where she gets it from. We're not going to probe deeper into that. I agree with what she's saying wholeheartedly, but human, I'm wondering if you're saying human or just young adults, because human means being treated with respect, right? And giving them the safety and not treating them like less than what's the word I want to look for? But anyway, less than human, which means they're being inhumanly treated. When I hear you say treat them like human, I'm wondering if you mean treat them like young adults. Is that where you're going from? Because I have to call them a class them as children. Why? Because their mindset. Children still can be respected because I don't dominate my children. I listen to them and I ask them their opinions. And then when I see them going too far left, I'll be okay, stop right there. Now is my time to talk. I've walked, so now you listen to me. I've heard you out. I see you may have a point or you may not have a point. Now let me school you on how it has to be done. So I'm wondering if that's what you're talking about. Give them the floor. Give them the opportunity to express themselves, respect their opinions, validate their opinions, but we can't give them that much room because they haven't had that life experience, which means even though you may have been exposed to some stuff, you still don't have the mental capacity to probably properly deal with those stuff. So we should hear you out, but then again, we should then give you our opinion as to say, okay, from my experience, I've walked this, then this is the way you should do it. Not saying that you have the answer. Because 9 times out of 10, the younger ones don't have the answer.
That's true. And I agree with both of you that children must be respected. But I think what we don't do, and I think Ariel may have alluded to that, what we don't do often is include them in the processes of life, include them in situations,
Yes.
make them aware of what is happening. A lot of times we, and Jason, we grew up with the children should be seen and not heard. It's no longer that way because,
Right.
A lot of us got lucky, in life, and we, and I don't think a lot of us were properly prepared for the lives that we have. And I wish that we were better prepared. But like I say, we got lucky because a lot of us were in church and we learned a lot of moral things that kept us.
Yes.
And even though the grace of God,
That's what it was.
kept a lot of us. But now I think, major decisions that families make, let your kids be around. Let them hear what you're thinking and feeling, because they're going to be, and a lot of times our kids make mistakes that they didn't have to make.
Yes.
Because they're not exposed, because we keep them sheltered away
Yes.
from big things.
Yes.
You're buying a house. They could be a part of your thinking and feeling about the different circumstances surrounding that.
Yes.
Let them be a part of the decision making when things come up that that they can handle, because a lot of times we know that they cannot handle everything we can handle. And I think Jason alluded to that. But expose them to a lot more than we expose them to.
Yes.
And I think that will definitely help.
Their opinions matter. Their children's opinions matter because it is their life ultimately that we are making decisions for.
Exactly.
So we need to include them. And a lot of times we as parents, I mean, I don't practice this, but we as parents don't think they need to know why we do what we do.
Exactly. It's true.
And that's what leads to the problem. See, I tend to talk too much, which, I mean, with my kids, I reason with them. I try to get
a
them
good
to
thing, though.
understand. But then they don't always appreciate that. So now I have to shut it down. Okay, no more of this barking off. Okay, now it's time to shut off. Now you can hear what I have to say.
Right.
Seeing that you can't
Right.
reason it. But I agree with we have to at least give them that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and a lot of
Definitely.
times we don't feel that they are valued. We don't value them enough to give them that opportunity.
That's true.
And I think that's where the problem comes in. You know,
Because a
but
lot of time, I think, sorry, go ahead.
we didn't give you guys the number. I mean, you should know it now, and we won't take it for granted. So we're gonna
Yeah.
tell you again. We'll be happy for you guys to call in on the show. 352-8255, 352-8255. Call us and let us know your opinion, or just drop your comments in the chat, and we'll read it live on air.
Yeah.
So you were gonna say?
Yeah, a lot of persons who are adults out there. How do you feel? Do you feel you are properly prepared for the future, and how are you properly preparing your children for the future? Definitely, we want you to share that with us. But I was about to say that a lot of times we do corrective parenting. We don't do preventative parenting.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things that we can do differently is talk to our children about situations before they come up.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times we wait for our kids to make mistakes, for things like that to happen, for after they reach a certain age to start discussing. You should be discussing things before they get to that
Yes.
age. And, you know, like Ariel says, you know, a lot of times before you have things that are cemented in our children, their personalities are cemented, you help to shape and form those personalities. A lot of times we grow our children up in isolation, and we don't have constant communication. I think
Correct.
constant communication is definitely going to be helpful as it relates to who they are and who they become, what they do, how they do what they do. And like I said, most times it's corrective because it's after then we are helping them out of situations.
So what do you have to say on that, Ariel, since you're no longer AP, you're Ariel now?
Our names are changing.
No, I definitely agree. I agree with the points that you both made. I think we're all aligned. What I will say is, Cheryl, what was the last thing that you said?
I talked about the corrective.
Oh yes,
parenting
that.
as
I
opposed
think
to
we need to
preventive.
really focus on that because a lot of times that is how children are raised. They are raised after the fact, and then they suffer severe consequences for things that they had no knowledge about.
Okay. So for the most part, do you think how do your friends feel about it? And I don't know, is this a conversation that kids your age have about how they were parented? Is that
Oh
something-
yeah, for sure.
Oh really? What are some of the
I've
things
had,
that
I've
they
had
say?
conversations with my colleagues, and you know, it's amazing to know the different point of views, because I speak with my friends who didn't have a father in their life. I speak with my friends who had a father, but they weren't very active. I myself can give a point of view from being from a family with divorced parents. I also have colleagues whose parents were divorced, right? So we all have a different outlook on life and how we were raised. And granted, you know, all of us think that we didn't come out too bad.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we also discuss a lot of things that have affected us mentally.
So what are some of the things that, without calling names and without being
Pointing
too
fingers,
specific, yes,
right,
what
without
are some of the
pointing fingers.
things that you
Okay,
guys...
so for example, I have a colleague, and we both come from broken families. So our parents were divorced at a really young age. And we were talking about how that affected our relationships, especially our romantic relationships in the future, right? And how that would affect my outlook. And I was telling them, okay, you know, I grew up seeing a mom who worked really hard to provide for her children. I mean, I have nothing but respect for my mom, because even the stories that my dad tells me about, how far she's come, the things that she's had to sacrifice. So I've grown up seeing that. And oftentimes that can give a female the mindset of, I can do this on my own. I've seen it happen. And then now you may think, okay, I don't need a man. I can do this on my own. You start to take what a man can do for granted in a romantic sense. And then vice versa for males. So that's something that I've had to unlearn. Even though I've seen it and I respect it, that may not necessarily be what I want for myself. And that's mannerisms, that's behaviors that I now have to unlearn so that I don't repeat that and I can break that generational curse.
Amen. Break it in the name of Jesus.
So all of that has to do with raising a child.
Yes.
That's
Right?
a very good
Definitely.
point, because a lot of times we think about raising a child in what we say, but a lot of times it's a lot about what we do when
That's
we're
it.
not talking.
Yep.
But we do have to take a commercial break, and we'll be right
Commercials
back.
Again. We'll be right back after this messages.
Yo, what's up, Bahamas? My name is Andrew Williams, aka Cat,
And I'm your boy Mix.
and we're representing Off the Bench, the #1 talk sportcast in the Bahamas.
In the world, my boy.
My bad partner. So
Yeah.
we cover anything sports throughout the Bahamas. We cover our Bahamian athletes wherever they are, and they're making waves in sports. We cover them.
Hey, just tune in to us every Wednesday here on Superior Talk at 6 o'clock p.m. Sharp.
The #1 talk show
In the world.
in the world.
Craig.
And we're back, and welcome back to Let's Talk. And today our topic is preparing our children for the future, properly preparing our children for the
Yes.
future. So, and as you can see, if you just joined us, we have a special guest in the house, AP, aka Ariel. So, youth with plenty of wisdom. And I guess we'll jump right into the comments.
Okay. Priska says, you have to teach children something first before engaging real-life conversations. These children aren't being taught anything of substance at home.
Ooh,
Wow.
sad. That's a shots fired at the parents, and I can
Yes.
always do that.
Yes.
I agree. Shots fired at parents. This parenting today, we are failing. I shouldn't say we, because I'm no longer in that generation of raising kids. My youngest is 19.
Okay.
But I caught some of it,
Right.
but we are failing as parents.
So you think you're done raising your child
Never
because
done,
they're
because I
adults?
still,
Okay.
I now I'm in the advice giving stage.
Okay, good.
You know,
Good.
you don't
And
have
it's
to
good to
listen.
point that out, because even when we are this age, they're still watching us.
Yes.
Jason. We have to understand they're still watching. And like you say, we still parent, but we parent from a different
Yes.
perspective. But I like how you corrected yourself by saying properly preparing children for the future, because we're preparing them no matter what
No
we
matter
do.
what we do.
We are preparing them.
Yep.
When we're not talking, we are preparing them. And I think what Ariel said just before the break was so important, that, children are watching us. All the mannerisms,
time.
they're picking up everything we do. All the things
time.
we say, they're picking up. And I have a friend who always, when she's in traffic, when she's in traffic or someone does something silly on the road, her son will shout out something at the back, and not very nice. So she'd be like, "That's exactly what I say when someone does something silly on the road." So they're mimicking us. No matter what age, the younger ones are saying what we say. The older ones are doing what we do. So we have to be careful how we're responding to life, because how we respond to life is how we prepare our
Yeah.
children for those same situations.
Saying goes, children see more of what we do
Right.
than hear what we say.
Right.
So they do as we do, not
Right.
what we say. And so you have to be more intentional with your actions.
Right.
Your reactions, I should
Yes.
say. Your
Yes.
reactions. Because how you react is definitely being deposited directly into your child. And I've heard stories many times of Christian parents
Right.
and the children saying, there's Christian, not my mommy, not my daddy, or this
Wow.
one is do this on the side, and they see them, mummies tell me lie, or say I know, and stuff
Wow,
like that. I mean,
yes.
encouraging, and the
Yes.
children picking that up, and they say, oh, that's little like white lies, but they don't understand how they're actually shaping that
Right.
child's mind.
Exactly.
They're teaching them to be deceptive. And then when the child be sneaky with them, I don't know where you picked this up from. What you mean? You've been teaching the child. They watch you gossip. They watch you backbite and talk
Absolutely.
bad about your boss, your sister, your husband, your whoever.
Right.
And then you expect them to do what you say and ignore what you've been doing.
yes,
Come
exactly.
on, man. You're
Isn't that
crazy.
something?
Y'all got to be crazy. But
That's
we've been
true.
doing it. We've been doing
That's
it.
true. I've had kids tell me that, you know, when my mom comes to a parent conference and she screams and carry on or whatever, you know, she only putting on a show for y'all, right?
Ooh.
The child literally says this. These are 12, 13-year-old children. And I said to the child, I said, we know, as teachers, we know. I said, but guess who's hurt by that situation? You. We're not fooled. We have our kids at home that we're trying to raise properly. And what we're trying to do here is trying to help your
Yeah,
parents
right.
in bringing you guys up properly. And so if you think that your parent coming and putting on a show is fooling us, then, you know, but that is really disgraceful. But I wonder, Jason, do you think, what percentage of parents do you think take responsibility for how their children turn out? And Ariel, I want to ask you, what percentage of you young people do you blame your parents for how you turned out? Do you, and is this in the conversation with your friends? Do you guys blame your parents for how you turned out?
I think that comes with maturity. Because at a certain point in time, you can't blame your parents for how you are as an adult.
Okay.
So, of course, up to, I would say, maybe like early 20s, you would still attribute most of your mannerisms, decision-making skills, reaction skills, and stuff like that. You would attribute that to your parents. But at a certain point in time, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. You have to be self-aware and cognizant of the things that you're actually doing. And a lot of people don't reach that stage.
I was about to say, I can piggyback right off of that.
A lot of people don't
You're
reach that stage.
supposed to, right?
I was about to say, you picked that up,
Yeah.
Jason, because that was going to be my next
Cheryl,
thing.
and guess what? These people who don't take responsibility, they still blaming their parents. They grow up and they become parents. So then they parent that style, and then when their child messes up, they don't take accountability of that either. So when their child is messing up, oh, that's on him. I do the best I could, and in their mind,
I've heard it.
they did the best.
Yes.
I was to every
The
PTA
best,
meeting.
yes.
I study with them. I provide everything for them in their mind. In their mind. And they lie to themselves. And they haven't, to this day, they still ain't take accountability yet.
Wow. No.
So, for you say what percentage? I think it's very low. Who take responsibility for how their kids turn out.
Do you
If the
think they
child turns
should?
out good, if the
Yes,
child turns
of
out good, oh
course.
yeah,
Oh,
that number's
So,
high.
yeah, if
But
it's positive, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but if it's negative,
oh, I don't know. I pray for that child. I had him to church, and I tell him to do this and that, and then, but then, if the child comes and say, "Well, mommy, you remember me as a man? You talking to me talking to me so bad, and I used to talk with my daddy, and you say I can turn out to be nothing, and and you just degrade me and you emasculated me. So now, how do you expect me to turn into this gentleman now?
Yes,
and
yeah.
you've never kept me around or try put me in a position to learn from a man. The only thing I heard you say is man bad, man bad, man bad. So I grew up thinking I'm supposed to be bad. So we don't take responsibility.
Yes.
And that's something I always preach.
Right.
For women, single mothers, my hat's off to you, all right, for the struggles and how hard you'll have to work. But it doesn't just stop at providing for the child.
No, it doesn't.
A roof and food and clothing. You have to now prepare the child for the future.
Yes.
And for boys, doing that means getting your male child, around positive male figures. Because, like Ariel mentioned, she saw a strong mother, a single mother. And it appears that a strong single mother can do it on her own.
Right.
So what I need a man for? So she grew up almost with that as a mindset, not knowing that, hold on, my mommy doing that, not because she wanted to,
Right.
she had to.
Right.
And her mommy probably didn't articulate that.
Right.
I don't want you to fall into this.
Right.
Her mother, let me just don't say her mother, mothers wear it as a badge of honor.
Right.
That, hey, I did it on my own. No, you get praise for doing it on your own, right? But you shouldn't have to.
Right.
And don't try to encourage your daughter
To have to.
to
right.
do
do
that.
the same.
Right.
Because that's a curse.
Right.
She's teaching her child how to be a single mother. Rather than saying, okay, I did it wrong, let me get you around the right people, let me teach you how to be a wife. if that's your path. You know, let's break this curse. And then for males, let me get you around positive men so that you know how to be a man. You know what it is to be a man, a provider, a protector, a priest in your home, not a
Right.
mama's boy
Yeah,
or looking
right.
for a woman to come now take care of me because I watch my mommy take care of me.
Yeah.
My mommy cuddle me. My mommy ain't never prepare me for the hard things that men have to go through. So now I looking for a woman to fill my mommy's shoes.
Yeah.
So it's another curse. So and then these fellas, these jokey men who ain't standing up to help raise the men. You know, they now when their son make it, now they stepping out of the woodwork. Oh, that's my boy right over there. You know, I'm so proud. But
Yeah.
get your
Okay.
anyway.
Bring it in.
Let's move on. So we talk about properly preparing our kids for the future, and that's one of the aspects. So the other aspect you mentioned were finances.
Oh, I think that's a big
I
one.
think, well, I was gonna say, get them in the house of God.
Definitely.
I think that's one of the things, and I think that's what kept me. I know, because even when you start building a child spiritually, when we stray from it, we always come back. And I
Definitely.
don't think any
Yes.
life without
Definitely.
God is a successful life in any which
Definitely.
way.
Yes.
So I think getting your children in the house of God is one of the best things that you can do
Yes.
for them to prepare them.
I
And
agree.
you're laying the foundation for a legacy.
Yes.
Because especially men.
Yes.
You know, they say when you if a woman gets saved, she will carry what is like less than 20% of her household goals.
Follows
But
her.
if a man,
Yes.
I think that's way up.
Yeah.
In the
Almost
percentage.
100%.
Yes, it's after 90,
Almost
yes,
100%.
beyond 90% of the household when the man is. So it's important, especially for young boys. I think all children, but especially for young boys, you need to get them in the house of God. I think definitely, and you're gonna say finances, which I think that's very important too, because money is very important, and our children need to have a very good relationship
With money.
Yeah.
Definitely. You being so close to this generation now, do you feel that the message is being taught, projected that, hey, get finances right in your life? From school,
No.
from your home to school. So we're basically learning it as you get out in the real world.
Yep.
Dang. Dang.
And I think it can be implemented in the home. It can be implemented growing up. But the sad thing is, because let's say, for example, if I was younger and I would have received an allowance, and based on that, my parents said, okay, based on your allowance, I'm going to need 50% of this, and we're going to treat this as rent and utilities. 30% is going to go towards saving. The other 20% you can do whatever as you please. Those are the kind of money habits that we need to begin to get familiar with. Because as soon as you get out of school and you start making your money, oh, I'm making money now, let me go check out on my Shein card, let me go buy my Amazon stuff. And oftentimes, we don't have responsibilities as soon as we come out of school. Right? You're still living with your parents.
Right.
And you're working now. Let's say they dropping you to work, they picking you up from work, you saving for a car, so you don't really have no real responsibilities to say, okay, let me lock down.
Wow.
Now, I feel like I didn't have to learn the hard way. I chose to learn the hard way. Because I moved out when I was 7.
I don't know. I don't know.
17?
I think I was 17 when I moved out.
You're
Wow.
So that's not moving out.
Yeah, but no, I worked full time. I schooled full time. And then shortly after, I got my apartment. And I had all of my bills. So I had to learn quickly
The hard way.
how to manage my finances, how to take care of myself, how to still keep food on the table. And I mean, I love the experience. Would I do it again? Probably not.
Did you love
But
this
I
experience
think-
because you had support in case you fell? You had a safety net? I know you had
did.
safety net.
I did.
All right then.
I
So
definitely
that's why
did.
you love the experience right there.
And I'm privileged to say that I did have that. But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't always use my safety net. Like there were times I didn't have a job and I would be like so stressed, like I literally started selling my furniture. to pay my bills. And then when I called my parent, they were like, Aria, why didn't you call me? Like, we could. But it's like, if I chose to live this life, then I am going to live this life. I'm not going to say,
Right.
oh, I'm going to move out and then just call my parents whenever things get
safety
hard.
net. Oh,
I'm
you
going to
different.
make it happen.
You different now.
But a lot of people don't have that mentality. A lot of
I'm
people
telling
don't
you.
have that
I am
grit.
telling you.
So that's the kind of things that we need to start instilling in children as they grow up, because
Yeah.
then they become reliant. Oh, I think we have a commercial.
No, we take commercial when you finish that thought. You finish that thought, and then we go to the commercial.
No, it's just not growing children up to be reliable and dependent on their parents their entire lives. At some point, you have to detach. You
Okay.
have to leave your home and you have to become your own independent person.
Definitely. Now we take a commercial break.
OJ.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Aria. We'll take a commercial break now before Mr. Producer shuts us off for being disrespectful. He'll be right back.
You asked and I delivered. Island-ish is back. The podcast you guys have known to love, to like to call in, to like to interact with. We are officially back. For the ones that don't know me, this is your girl Yams. Hear me on Mix 102.1 FM or your favorite TGF_Yams. With the 2 S's, we're back with Island-ish right here on Superior Talk. So make sure you're following the page. We're going live this Thursday, 6 p.m. Don't miss it. Follow us. It's about to get lit.
So welcome back, and we are here at Let's Talk. We're talking about properly preparing our kids for the future. And our special guest, Ariel, was just giving us her input, however you want to put it. She's giving us her views on what we could have done better. And I was convicted, honestly, when she's saying about the allowance and then telling the children, take some back, a little percentage. More properly preparing them for real life with finances, because if they're going to be paying rent, start them with a little, whatever monies they have, make them use it as if they were using it in the real world. And I dropped the ball on that one. So I wish I could go back and do it over. But that's a very good idea. So for all you young parents out there, y'all got some nuggets
I
just
couldn't
now.
afford to give any allowance, so that's my excuse.
But whatever monies they
I
had.
needed an allowance myself.
'Cause my
Even
kids-
with the lunch money. If
Yeah.
you give your child a lunch money in a lump sum at
My
the beginning of
kids-
the week and say, listen, this your ration? Portion it out throughout the week. See
I
how they
got
go.
one daughter there. Soon as she gets it, she spends it.
Oh, really?
Now, mind you, she'll spend it on you, right? She
Right.
is selfish with it.
Right.
But soon as she gets it, she spends it.
gone.
And I say, save your money, save your money. Daddy, I get more.
Oh, I love it. I love
But
it.
she got one little business there where she actually making some money.
Oh,
But she
nice.
spends it. She just spend it.
She has daddy. What? Priska says, I'm going to need these children to give their parents some grace along this journey. We parent the best way we could, and it may not be perfect in their eyes.
I don't
Okay.
think- Okay, she said, I feel like
What? I feel like after 25, that's when the brain is fully developed, is when the parents are no longer to be blamed.
that's something like what
Yes.
Ariel mentioned.
I agree, definitely. Leona says, yes, God must be foundation to prepare for the world.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Definitely agree with that. All right. Leona also says, me too. Their lunch money was their loans. Exactly. Yes.
So yeah, I don't think no child would say they were very few children would say they were parented properly.
Right.
Because children will always poke holes in their
And,
parents'
yeah.
strategy, right? Their way of raising them.
Right.
And then when they get parents,
Then they'll,
then they understand,
Exactly.
now
Why.
I see why mommy and
Exactly.
daddy did it this way. Now I understand. But the children are always the victim.
Yes.
They're always the victim.
Yes.
And the sad thing is this, some of them become adults and still have that victim
Yeah,
mentality. That
mentality.
is so,
Absolutely.
that bugs me. Yeah, they still blaming their mom. Oh, mommy do this to me. Daddy do this to me. I say, boy, shut up, boy. Yeah, she may have done that to you, but come on, you're a man now.
Yeah. Right.
But when you gonna grow up? But if she did do it this way, and come on,
Say,
man.
you're grown now. What are
You
you gonna
grown,
do?
what you gonna do?
Exactly.
Stop crying.
Yes.
Put your man, your big boy pants on, and let's walk on. So we're moving on now. We mentioned spirituality, and which is foundation. I agree with that 100%, and I don't think none of our viewers, commenters would disagree with that. You have to lay that spiritual foundation.
Yes.
Once that is laid, then you can build on top of that. Anything else you try to build on, it can fall. And so now we just spoke about the financial one, and I got pricked. Too late now. So my child would say, Daddy, you didn't teach me how to do. I taught you all how to save. You all dug on money. That's what I teach you.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, that's good too.
So now the other aspect was what? It was emotionally.
Emotion. I think a part of the emotional training is teaching our children how to become self-aware, to learn themselves, learn who they are. You understand? A lot of times we don't because, emotions were never a big thing when we were growing up, Jason. Shut up.
Yeah.
Move on with life. You know what I mean? But now children have these big feelings. They have feelings about
Don't they?
everything.
Don't they?
Everything.
Everything. They're so
will say-
touchy. My gosh.
I think that, we need to address their feelings, but a lot of times these feelings, I wouldn't say don't matter, but
There's not enough time in the day to address the
Listen, they so soft and so everything.
Yeah.
They're sensitive. They so
sensitive now.
sensitive.
Exactly, sensitive.
Bro,
Exactly.
come on, and
Yes.
they need a hug for everything.
Yes.
and then now it's like opinions are very important.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody
facts
has
are
one.
made void now.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's three
Your
facts in
truth.
this one room.
Your
Your
truth.
your truth,
Your
and
truth.
my
No,
truth.
bro, it's one truth.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen.
So my thing is, just know that not all feelings will be validated because not all of them are important.
Right. Miss me with that.
Yeah.
Miss me with it.
But
Plenty of
I
that.
do understand that you respect their feelings because
Yes.
when you do, you're teaching them to respect the feelings of other people.
Correct. Correct.
But self-awareness is one thing, and I was about to say not letting your feelings take control.
Yes.
You feel them, but they should not
Dictate your actions. Yes.
And that's a one big thing that we need to teach our children, and just how to take responsibility for your actions. If you do, and I think that's one of the challenges I have with the children. Every day I said, listen, I just want you, if you do something, just say, yeah, my bad, I do it. As a matter of fact, now I tell them, I say, you know what, the punishment will probably be less if you just admit that
Cop
you
to
do
it.
upfront.
My
And
kids learn that.
adults, and when you grow up, that level of integrity is so important. And you have a lot of grown people who don't know
They ain't
how to
reached there
do
yet.
that.
They ain't reached there yet.
We refuse to take responsibility for the things, and I think that's one thing as it relates to just becoming emotionally aware, of self-awareness, being aware of who you are, other people, respecting other people's feelings, and just point blank take responsibility for your actions. That's important.
Listen, so much people out there, you hear them say, "Oh, I did it because you." It's like
cost me,
you
or
cost me.
or you
It's
pushed
always,
me
it's
to that.
always somebody else's
Yeah.
fault. They're never ready to take the accountability, the responsibility for their reaction or action. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? I heard this lady say this thing. She say, emotions don't matter, Your emotions only matter to you.
Exactly. In the
To
grand
you.
scheme of things, only to
So it's when I feel it, only me one feeling it.
Yeah.
So we have to, and both of you said it, we have to acknowledge the emotions, but you cannot let
it
that
dictate
influence
your actions.
your actions because, man, if it's going to influence it to do good, yeah. But to be a victim or not want to take accountability and responsibility, no. Your emotions only matter to you,
To you. Yeah.
right? They
Just like
guide
you're only
you, pay
special to
attention.
your parents.
Right.
Don't come around here. Sorry.
No, but okay, so now how can we reel this back into parenting? How often has your mom or your dad come home and they had a bad day at work? Now they taking their anger out on everybody in the house. You remember that growing up? And
Let's
you
see.
looking at that?
I'm sure you
can
can't remember that. Must have been a movie you
I
watched.
remember that a few times. and it
Listen.
made me feel so bad because now it's like, I'm just trying to talk to my mom.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you when you dropped me off to school,
Everything
we
was cool, right? It was good.
Right?
Best friends, eh?
Right? So now I'm trying to figure out what happened.
And she was just
I don't know.
unleashing
Now-
hell.
The topic. I really think we're going off topic.
Now, how as parents can you regulate your emotions? Maybe you
You
didn't
should.
learn how to do that.
And that's the
And
that's it
now
right
you
there.
need to do that to show your child
Children, right?
how to do that.
That's part
And
of being a
having that
responsible.
conversation, or even if you don't feel like talking, hey baby, mommy had a bad day at work today. Give me a few minutes, let me calm
Yeah.
down, all right? And then now you have that connection with your child to say, oh, okay, now let me back up. Let me give mommy some space. They don't feel bad. They don't feel like they're the cause of your anger. They're not going to retract away from
Right.
you. They're not going to feel like they need to leave you alone all the time. They don't need to be walking on eggshells
right,
around you.
right.
Right?
Understood. Yes,
So,
correct.
That's
Even like
self-awareness
that.
on the mom's part.
Exactly.
So before they could even try to teach it to their kids, they
They
have to
need
learn
to
it.
know
Learn it. They have to learn it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I have so little faith in this generation of parenting because they got to take accountability. They got to take responsibility
Before you can
even get to that point.
yeah.
So
That's
they still blaming their parents for the state
Yeah.
they're in now. So I don't know.
And
the grace of
the
God.
sad part though is, Jason, we talk about this and it almost seems hopeless.
Yes.
Because, in the field that I am, I'm exposed to poor parenting on a daily basis. Teachers see it so often.
Yes, I bet.
And we don't have to see the tree, You
yeah.
just see the fruit.
Yeah.
And you know exactly where it comes from.
Exactly, you know where it's coming from. And we're in trouble.
Yes.
We are in trouble, and because the requirements for being a parent is so low.
There's no requirements. There's none. There's none.
Exactly my point.
Sharon, I know you heard me say it before on the show. I wish you had to qualify to get
Yes.
fertile reproductive organs.
Yes,
I
I
wish you had to
agree.
qualify,
I
take a
agree.
test and pay a fine or something. I
I
wish you had to
agree.
pay for it.
I
Because any Joe Blow could go there, do the do, and they have a child.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is so foreign because you have people who just flying by the seat of their pants.
Yes.
And God help these kids.
Yes.
God help these kids, literally.
So, you know the drill. We have a caller calling in. Thank you, caller, for calling. Let's talk. Tell me what you got to say, because this phone burning. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Oh, yeah, so this is Leona speaking. I just want to say they commented, whereas, we grew up with our parents, and we grew up with our parents didn't have it all. Some of us took bucket from the well, and
Yep.
we
True.
do outside toilets and stuff like that. So, when we grow up as parents, we don't want that. We go there, we work, and we go ahead and make sure that this child gets everything that they need. So now that they're getting everything they need to go out in the real world now, they feel like, hold on, I'm entitled, I used to this, what do I do? So most of the time, that's what happens.
Right. So we concentrate on providing the material
better.
things, a better
Yeah.
environment, but we didn't really concentrate on their mental aspect.
No, we just want to make sure they have it and that they, like people now they can see that, look, I'm taking care of my child. So
Right.
fundamentals of accountability and all of the other stuff and responsibility, it doesn't come into play until after the child now graduates and now needs to go on their own. And that's why they go to college and you call it a turnout or they go on, they never had the self-control, none of that was learned home. Everything making sure they have it.
Wow. Wow.
That's true.
Home because you're working 2 and 3 jobs, so
Yes.
that's it.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my,
Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate it, Leona.
you're welcome.
That's true.
She's so
That's a
right
good
though,
point.
because a lot of us we try to do better for our kids than what we had.
Yes.
But sadly, we don't focus though on the character because the hardships that we went through built character in us.
Boom.
They made us who we are.
Humble, appreciative of everything,
appreciative
grateful.
of everything.
Everything, right.
Not feeling entitled, just
Yes.
being grateful for things.
Yes.
And I think as parents, we overlook the importance of that. And our children didn't get the virtue of learning these things.
But you know what, Cheryl, I think happened? Our parents was teaching us it without knowing, so they didn't have to reinforce it. And as kids, we took it for granted. The hard part, we
Yes,
just
of
took the
course,
hard part. We
because
said,
we just thought we were poor.
right. So we didn't
yeah.
we didn't realize we were learning. We didn't realize
Exactly.
our character was being built.
Exactly.
We
And
only
didn't
realize it now.
how much we had.
Right.
Even though we had little, we
That's
had
right.
a lot.
We had a lot. And the lot we had was more not physical, not material stuff, we had more family.
Yes, the
we had more time. We had
intangibles
more
that we had,
close.
exactly.
Right. So
Yes.
that's we were rich with that. Because the
Absolutely.
family was much closer then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Spend
we-
more time together. We
Yeah.
had
Right.
real friendships.
Right.
And nobody was competing with each other. Nobody was. We had real face-to-face connections that was so deep. And the people we grew up with, we still friends with them every day.
Correct.
And our neighbors are like cousins and sisters.
Yes,
we had
yes.
real connection
Connections, yes.
that's irreplaceable.
And we traded that all for technology and
telling
Shane
you.
and things.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can take this commercial break and we'll be right back.
Yes.
Greetings and welcome to Superior Talk Bahamas. My name is Yvette Swain, and I am here with the Sword Sharpeners Prayer Network. We meet every Monday at 6 p.m., where we dive into the Word of God to see what He would say to us. You are welcome to join us. That's every Monday at 6 p.m. here on Superior Talks. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. We'll let you all in on the other side joke later.
We won't.
And the producer of the blooper reel. So we're talking about preparing our kids, properly preparing our kids for the future. We spoke about spiritual, the most important ones, foundation. And then we spoke on finances. And then we spoke on the emotional part, where we just ended up how we even though we didn't have the material things growing up, most of us did. We had character building traits that were instilled in us. So now we're going to transition into which I feel is the second most important thing for properly preparing our child for the future. So after God, I think is preparing them for relationships, future relationships. Because the fact is, the Bible says God it's not good for man to be alone. And he may have been referring to Adam, but he's referring to the man as a manhood, human nation, as the human species. It's not good for us to be alone, whether it's romantic or just friends.
Right.
It's not good for humans to be alone.
Yeah, we need
We
connection.
cannot function outside of community.
Right.
So we have to learn now speak on how do we prepare our children for properly functioning in relationships.
Yeah.
So which one of y'all want to start on this? Who can jump? Who can take the baton?
I think it's a collective of everything that we already discussed.
Let me ask you, do you think your generation that you guys were prepared? Do you guys feel? I think this is something you guys talk about as well. Do you feel like you were prepared by your parents for relationships?
All kinds of relationships.
Yes.
To an extent.
Okay.
To an extent.
Properly. Because like we said, we're preparing them no matter what we do.
Right.
We're preparing them with our actions and our
Maybe,
speech.
yeah, exactly.
So we are preparing them.
No matter-
Did we do a good job? For the most part, did we do a good job of preparing you guys for future relationships, romantic, friendships, job-wise? Because you have relationships on the job. You have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Did we?
Navigate those,
And if we
yes.
did, which ones we did a better job at?
Okay. That's a good question.
Is it too loaded? That's too loaded a question.
Okay, well, I can only speak for me personally.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
so much.
And some of your, yeah. Keep it general. You don't want nobody getting in their feelings because if your mommy watching, if your daddy watching, we don't want them to feel too bad. But the reality is,
Yeah, no, I think
They
was
know they weren't
prepared
perfect.
to an extent. Just based on the circumstances with me growing up. I always tell people I was raised as practically an only child. My next sibling is only 8 years older than me, and I didn't really spend much time with them, at least in my developmental stages, living with them and growing up with them. So I always tell people I was raised essentially as an only child. Like in my teens, I was always by myself. So I think to an extent, I was definitely put in a lot of extracurriculars where I could have spoken to different people from different schools. I was always in a club. So I was definitely prepared to have those kinds of platonic relationships, those friendships,
Right.
networking wise, acquaintances, colleagues. I was always familiar with that. Now romantic relationships, maybe not, but like I would have mentioned before, those are things that as you grow, you have to unlearn.
Right.
And you have to learn new habits. You have to learn new practices, proper, healthy, spiritual, godly practices
Correct.
that you now implement into your life as you start to take responsibility for your own life.
Okay. Awesome.
I
Yeah.
think too, Jason, one of the main things too why we don't properly prepare our children for relationships is that we determine in our mind, when our children are supposed to be ready for relationships.
Right. Right.
We don't let them decide. And when the
Yeah.
questions come up, boy, would you go and ask me these things? Or,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, study. What you worry about? Go worry about your books.
you sound like you said that a couple of times, Jason. But yeah, that's why
Guilty.
we say that, like, you know, and we do not entertain our children.
Right. Right.
But what we need to do, once the child start asking, we have to start giving honest answers.
Yes.
Of course,
Before
we
the
should
child
be.
starts asking. Remember,
Well,
we spoke
it-
about preventative parenting.
That's right.
Yes, I do
That's
understand that.
right.
Before the child starts
That I
asking.
know, but sometimes I'm just talking about those of us who, when the child starts saying, you know, 12, talking about a boy or about a girl, then we start discouraging it.
Right.
And so the child stops talking to us.
Yes.
And that is
But they don't
unhealthy.
stop acting on
No, they
those
don't.
feelings
No.
or emotions.
They go
Right.
and talk to other children,
Right. Because
to
you
other
mentioned
people who
Yeah.
are who it's not healthy.
Right.
But I think, and what I think happens to a lot of kids is their emotions drive their relationships.
Yeah.
Their emotions tell them when to start doing certain things
Yeah,
because
there's no
we don't
logic.
tell them.
Right.
Because we don't tell them.
Right.
And a lot of us who are spiritual, because we know what the Bible says and we want our children to live that way, we don't have we don't have an open conversation.
Right. We use God as a cop out.
Exactly. So because the Bible says to do this, we're not going to give them the options.
Yeah.
Do this safely.
Right.
Do this whatever.
Right.
We just tell them don't
Don't
do
do
it
it at
because
all.
you're not supposed to do it at all. So I think once we get out of our own heads and we have to think about the child and not us. This is what you would like, but you have to give the child the full picture.
Yes.
Definitely. And like you said emotions, their hormones and plus the emotions,
Yes.
they can't handle it.
Oh,
We
definitely.
have adults who cannot handle their hormones and their emotions.
Yeah.
So imagine a child.
Children, yeah.
Imagine a child. So therefore, we as parents, we should be looking out for these things. And like you said, reminder, Cheryl, preventative, because we know it's coming.
Yes.
Don't stick your head in the sand. We know it's coming. You are a child. You know what you're going through. You know what you wanted to do. You know
Yeah.
the thoughts you had. You know the
Exactly.
dreams you had. Your child can have them. So let's get it out and open. Let's
Yes.
talk.
Exactly.
You know, I remember having a conversation with my kids, and I remember saying, so tell me why you think you want a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Tell me why. Tell me why.
Yes.
Tell me, rationalize it. Why they can't just be a friend?
Yeah.
Why they have to
What
be
are you gonna do
exclusive?
differently?
And,
Yes.
and we can talk about it. Let's talk about it. See, because I can logicalize this for you.
Yes.
And they couldn't. So I say, well, that's why
You don't need it.
you don't need it.
Because you can't.
You can talk like
articulate
they could be your friend. I ain't telling you stop. Don't talk to them. That's your friend. But why that gotta be your girlfriend? Why that gotta be your boyfriend? What y'all gonna do? What's the benefit? Tell me. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk. Let's talk. But, so I believe in that. I believe in that. And two, we really don't need to have those conversations if we're doing it right. And if we're doing it wrong, let's now tell them, hey, you see mommy and daddy rowing, or you see mommy and daddy split,
Yeah.
this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Mommy was wrong. That's fine for a woman to say. Let's keep it on me.
Hardly ever
Daddy
happens.
was
Yeah,
wrong.
Daddy was
See?
wrong. See, that's what.
Let's keep it real.
More realistic,
Let's keep it
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we just was talking about the accountability thing and taking responsibility. So let's keep it real. Daddy was wrong.
Daddy was wrong.
Daddy was wrong.
As
And he shouldn't have said that, or he should have paid more attention. He should have
Yeah.
treated mommy more, be more affectionate. And so I don't want you to do this, or I don't want you to treat women like that, or, you know, don't let a man talk to you this way, or
Yeah.
don't let a man, you know, just, daddy was wrong.
Right.
And mommy got to now show,
Right.
okay, forgiveness. And so
Right.
you got to show them this.
Exactly.
And then you
Yeah.
won't have to have the conversation if you don't want to talk.
That's true. And
But
another
we
thing,
are not doing our
No.
relationships right. We are, like she said, she's seeing a strong single mother, and nothing is coming from the mother to say, hey, corrective, to
Right.
correct that.
Right.
And-
And, we're
and-
not honest. We're not honest.
Right.
Even, you know, in the mistakes that we make,
Yes.
We make mistakes growing up.
And try to hide it.
And we hide it from
Yes.
our children. So, and I think a lot of times too, our children will trust us more, trust what we say more when we can be authentic in
Real,
saying,
be
okay, yeah,
real.
when I was 16, this is what I did and I shouldn't have done it. This is what came out of that.
Right.
So I think that's in a part of preparing our children properly for the
Correct.
future. We have to be honest and upfront.
Correct.
And let them know what we did wrong, so that they don't see us as this, where they hide from us and try
Right.
to do
Correct.
things behind our backs.
Because they'll say they got you as on a pedestal because mommy
Exactly.
never messed up.
Right.
So here I am.
Exactly.
I'm such a screw up. Why doing this mess up and mommy's so perfect? Mommy can be so disappointed in me, or daddy can be so disappointed in me because daddy never do this.
Right.
So you gotta let them know, hey, no, I
messed
remember, boy, I do so much stupidness that I wrong. I should have
Yes.
never taken that try. I wish I didn't have them friends. I wish I had saved my money. I wish I didn't blow it on this, and have those kind of conversations to let them know that be human.
Yes.
You can fall.
Right.
Everybody makes mistakes, but this is what I learned, the better way to do it. And if you can't, then you point them to somebody who could help them
Absolutely.
not make the mistakes you make.
Yes.
But we so full of pride,
Yes.
and I saying we, because I've been guilty of it.
Me too.
We so full of pride, we want to keep this hidden. We want to
Yes, 'cause
be
we
the
want them to see
Superman.
us as- yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the while we set them up for a downfall.
Yeah.
You know, because we're making them think the way we're doing things is correct, or if
Making
we
them think they can come to us when they mess up as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So we messing up. We messing up. So we gotta teach our children by our actions, and if we ain't doing the right actions, we gotta send them to the right people, or just
Right.
get the literature or whatever to help them not make the mistakes we make.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to keep promoting single motherhood, strong, independent single mothers. That's not a badge to wear, or these absent, letting these fellas get away dropping off babies and going. You know, these fellas them continue to do it because there's a market out there.
Right.
You know, the women still laying with them.
Yeah.
There's no qualifications from once he breeding, he coming laying up with you. Come on, my ladies, make these fellas be men. You know, and because if he look like he don't want to do it on his own, make him do it.
Yeah.
Because you got it, and you have to do that with your son because you don't want your son to be one of these clowns. I try to choose my words. So
Pastor Charles, what?
so we have responsibilities with the relationships.
Yes.
We have the divorce rate is too high. The divorce rate is too high, and even those who aren't divorced, they're living in unhappy marriages.
Yes.
Because we don't want to be real. And then we hiding it from our children, which means they may fall into that
the
same
same mess. Yeah.
mistake because we only preparing them for the money, the material things, the jobs,
Yes.
and we're not taking the focus on God
Wholesome relationship.
and wholesome relationships. So as we wrap up, what are our last words? What are your last words you'd like to leave with our good guests, our good viewers?
I would probably say to the persons my age, just going back to what Prisca would have commented, definitely we have to show our parents grace because this is also their first time living.
Yep.
It's their first time doing everything just
Yeah.
as it is ours. So we definitely have to show them grace and take responsibility and take accountability for our actions as we grow. Yeah.
Most definitely. Thank you so much.
Yes, for me, and I just want to say to our viewers, in properly preparing our children for the future, for each child, you only get to do it once. You only get to do it once, and each child has to be prepared and parented differently because they are different. And so our approach has to be different. So think about, and as we think about our children, think about this. If the way you raise your son, is that someone you'd want your daughter to end up with? The way you raise your daughter, is that someone you don't want your son to end up with? Okay? And like Ariel would have said in the beginning, we have to think about the whole child, every aspect of the child, and we want to ensure that our child is fully developed, our children fully developed spiritually, emotionally, career-wise, financially, and just the entire mindset, so that they can be a wholesome citizen and citizen that contribute to our society.
Amen. Amen. I like what Cheryl said. Is your son somebody you would want your daughter to end up with, or is your daughter somebody you want your son to end up with? Will you be proud to say that's a good husband or a good wife you raised? So, in my closing, I'd like to say, foundation is number one, God. A strong foundation. You build that. That's where we get all our information from. That's who validates us. That's who corrects us. That's who gives us when we don't have nobody else to talk to. That's who we can find all our answers in. Secondly, we prepare our children by the way we live.
Yes.
So remember that, like Cheryl and Ariel said, this is our first time living. Ain't no handbook out there. So we learning as we go.
Yes.
Give your parents grace, but also parents pay attention to your children. Their opinions matter. They have opinions as well. So we have to guide them. God put a brain in their head. We just have to help them mold that into the best person they can be. Relationships. We have to do a better job of preparing them for relationships. The divorce rate is ridiculous. Unhappy marriages is ridiculous. That's because we have failed to show them how to do relationships properly. Either we pretending that we're doing it right, or we're just lying. We don't want our children supposed to be better than us. That's supposed to be our goal. Our children are supposed to be better than us financially, emotionally, physically, and relationally. Our children are supposed to be better than us. So that should be our number one goal. Prepare our children for the future by doing all we could so they can take it to the next level. So when they become parents, their children will be even better.
Yeah.
It's all about leaving a legacy. So thank you so much. This has been Let's Talk. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you guys for sticking to it with us. We'll see you again next week.
Good night.